Yeah, I think we should be up and running. Let's move this out of the way. This in the picture. Let's hope so. Uh-oh. Looks like we might have dropped frames or something. Okay. Yeah, okay, this is in the picture. So we're looking at the 5th round today. We had a rest day yesterday, and well, the round before that we had 3 decisive white wins and 2 draws. But today, board 1, Helgi Áskarðarson against Guðmundur Kjartansson. Guðmundur currently joint joint 3rd place with Henrik. No, actually joint 2nd with Henrik Danielsson on board 2. Bragi Þorfarsson against Guðmundur Gíslason. Bragi lost his first game in the 4th round, so he will look to bounce back. On board 3 we have Hjörvar Gíslason against Henrik Danielsson. An extremely important game for Hjörvar, who has I'll mute myself on the other screen. Yeah, Hjörvar against Henrik. Very important for Hjörvar to win here, since she lost against Hannes yesterday. And well, the best result for Hjörvar is that Héðinn on board 4 will actually win. Héðinn Stengursson will win against Hannes Stefansson. These are the number 1 and number 2 seed before the tournament. Hannes is currently leading. And then on board 5 we have teammates from Hugin Chess Club, Þröstur Þórðarson and Einar Hjalti Jensson. And they know each other quite well. Einar Hjalti assisted Þröstur when he became Icelandic champion in 2012. He was his second for his match against Bragi Þorfarsson. But we're starting a bit late today. I found a way to forget my my AC cord, my electricity, and you need electricity, I guess, for your computer, especially when it's not fully loaded. So that's why I'm starting a bit late. So I haven't really seen any of the games. I'm testing a new camera, by the way. The picture looks better, but seems like the sound might be lagging a little bit. We'll survive from that, I guess. So once again, if you have anything, any questions or comments, you can use the chat on Twitch. You can use, if you're on the homepage with the live commentary, you can use the Facebook chat underneath it. You can also use my Facebook page and my Twitter page, and you will see the link above me. It will rotate. You will get ibuprofen, you will get Kristall, and then you will get my information. I think it rotates every 2 or 3 minutes. But anyway, on to the games, I guess. Enough talk. So we're gonna have a look at first game. We'll go in order of boards, actually, and well, I need more boards. So we'll put the players list up while we're while I'm setting up some final last-minute preparations. So this is the old 3rd and 4th round. So let's have a look at the bio of the leader while we're waiting. Grandmaster Hannes Stefansson, 12-time Icelandic champion. Usually when he plays, he wins. That has been the case, I think, more or less. In 2000, Jonathan Gunnarsson was champion. In 2012, Thursday Thordarson was champion. Both these years, Hannes didn't play. So I think Stefansson has won every year he's played for the last 11 or 12 times, which is pretty remarkable, to tell you the truth. And he is one of 3 World Junior Champions actually in the tournament, along with Héðinn Steingrímsson, who he's playing now. Hannes was under 16 World Champion. Héðinn was, I think, under 12 probably. And finally, Helgi Ásgeirsson was 1994 World Junior Champion. So let's finally jump to some games. So Helgi with white against Guðmundur Kjartansson. Helgi opened with d4 and f5. And yeah, he also played f5 against Henrik, which surprised me, since Henrik is one of the leading experts on the Leningrad. But Gummi tends to cycle his openings. You know, sometimes he's playing the King's Indian, he's played Czech Benoni. He plays lots of stuff, and seems like he's going with the Leningrad for now. Bishop g2, g6, c4. Cycle, you know, opening with c4 or I have a feeling the current camera is affecting my stuff, so I'm actually gonna turn it off. Switch to the old one. I have an old computer that maybe can't really handle this. So okay, back to the game. C4, bishop g7. We have the Leningrad Dutch, knight c3, castles, and knight h3. Now, usually black automatically goes d6 here, but okay, he went knight c6 first, Gummi, after castles, d6. And the idea of knight h3 is that usually, well, black almost always goes d6, and then the plan is to go d5, and this knight can stand okay here on f4, from where it can eye the weakened e6 square. Knight c6 sort of looks odd to me. Usually, I mean, I don't think this variation is a big deal. After d6, let's say d5, knight a6, knight f4. And usually it's okay for us to go e5, let white take, and then go c6 or knight c5. Usually c6 first, I think. After castles, knight c5, and then we capture this pawn, and we have a typical Leningrad position, which I think is quite fine for white, black. But he went knight c6, which is well, I haven't seen this idea before, so let's see what he has in mind. Rook b1. He wants to expand on the queen side. Should mention that Helgi has used up a lot of time, so looks like he's not very familiar with the plans here for white. Or he might just be trying to remember something. d5, knight b8. Yeah, so I didn't really That's why I think knight c6 was quite weird, because now you have to go back to b8. Okay, on one hand you're losing tempos, but on the other hand, now the structure has been defined. Now you can, it starts to look like a King's Indian actually. You can start thinking about moves like this, get the knight back out to a6 or d7, and then to the c5 square. That's why you play a5 to get this outpost. And since we don't have the f5 square, this knight looks funny unless you can put it on g5 and e6, so that's the only idea for white really. d5, knight b8, b4 he played, and a5, a3. So of course white wants to keep this pawn to control the square, which is a nice outpost for a black knight, so he wants to keep it there. That's why he plays a3. But now at least black gets the a file. There's not much to do on it yet, but it could be an asset. And now h6, and that move makes a lot of sense. We want to play against this knight, and h6 makes it bad, takes away the d5 square. So now there's no easy plan of knight g5 to e6. I'm wondering if knight g5 should have been played earlier, just to get rid of this knight. It might lose a pawn, and sometimes it's white sacrifices this pawn. Let's say something like this. And okay, let's say we go for a5. Not sure it's best, but after this takes c6. Most likely black will win this pawn, but white can think about some type of expansion. Try and control the light squares, but it looks weird in this case, because black can maybe just clock up this diagonal immediately, because there's no d3 pawn. So yeah, maybe it's too much, so we'll just brush off this idea, b4 and h6. Helgi actually played f3 here, and that's how things stand at the moment. About a half an hour advantage on the clock for Gummi. Where's the commentary? Okay, nothing new. Let's move on to another game. Next game we're going to look at is Bragi against Gisla. So that's IM Thorsteinsson against FM Gislason. Okay, and in that game, what? Did I type M or did I? I'm confused. Okay, either way. Either way. So here, Bragi with white. He opened with pawn to c4. Knight to f6. Knight c3 and g6, so nothing surprising here. Gummi Gisla has been playing the King's Indian or the Grunfeld more or less for his whole playing career, so nothing out of the ordinary here. And bishop e3. Okay, white is postponing knight f3, so he can put the bishop on e3. If the knight was on f3, then black would play knight c4, so bishop a3 would not make any sense. But now c5, which white answered with e5, and this looks weird. I have not seen this before. Might be some sort of preparation. e5, d takes e5, knight f to d7. Of course, white protected the pawn on e5 with f4, knight c6, queen d2, Yeah, I'm wondering why he's going for queen d2 signals that he wants to be aggressive here. Very aggressive with queen shot castling. So let's see, a5. And that's what he did, queen shot castles. Interesting. Okay, for black to attack, he needs to activate his bishop on diagonal, so f6 would make sense, but at the moment maybe white can just play e6. Also for play you need to play maybe b5, but at the moment that break is pretty well covered by the white pieces. So rook d8. Now the rook in the line of fire of the queen, so queen e1 or queen, or actually the queen in the line of fire of the rook, knight b6. A bit clumsy, but you need to develop this bishop on c8. But now you lose some time maybe, you have to put the knight on the back rank. And not a lot of defenders on the king side potentially. Let's see, knight f3, bishop e6. Well, actually pressure on this pawn all of a sudden. Knight d2, queen a6, queen f1. Okay, protecting the pawn. Knight a4, exchanging of a defender, but white wants to keep a knight on c3, so it puts this knight and takes. So strange position that we have. And is this the current position? No, we have f6. f6 is the last move, and both players have about 52 minutes. After f6, white actually played g4. After takes e5, and now the idea is of course to play f5. You're not going to take on e5 because you just lose a pawn, but you play f5. And now both you close lines here for this bishop, which can't stare down this diagonal, and also you secure the e5 square for your knight at some point. First you must take care of this a2 pawn, maybe move the king. Yeah, f5 has been played, and bishop f7, and that's how things currently stand. White has sacrificed a pawn, but shouldn't be a big deal. This is not a big asset, it's almost like one pawn. So we'll see, interesting unbalanced game, so it'll be interesting to see how this one develops. Ah. Hmm. 33 seconds. Igor Nadov played a3 on the first move against Wojtaszek. We'll need to see that at some point. But okay. Nothing new under the sun. So let's move on. Now we have finally an important game here. And that's Hjörvar with white against Henrik. d4, d6. We've seen this before from Henrik in the tournament. So nothing that surprises Hjörvar. e4, knight f6, knight c3. But this time he did not go for the Philidor with e5 right away. He went c6, which could signal, I think it's called the Czech variation or something in the perk, but he hasn't played g6 yet, so we'll see. After f3, no, f3, then Henrik actually went back to e5. Bishop e3, bishop e7, and now he's going to play the Philidor. Here I went d5. Castles, queen d2, pawn takes d5. et, queen a5, bishop c4, knight to a6, a3, bishop d7, and already black has more or less finished his development. Ideally we would like to put a knight on c5, but there's always b4, so we can't do that. So white to move knight g2, rook fc8, makes sense. Black wants to initiate play on the queen side, maybe b5 is coming, bishop a2, bishop d8. Okay, yeah, he wants to put the bishop on b6 and exchange off this bishop when, well, this one is actually black's bad bishop, so the exchange of these pieces would help black. So castles, bishop b6, looks like he's going to get this exchange. King h1, bishop takes e3, queen takes e3. Queen p6, going for the endgame. Seems to me that Henrik's approach here is just to be solid. Rook of c1, looks like we're current position. So black shouldn't have any problems. I'm wondering if he's going back, queen a5, queen p6. Wondering if that was necessary, because, well, you take on these double pawns, but yeah, maybe one of the problems was that you want to play knight c5, but there's always b4. So okay, he just solved it like this, and the rook c1. Yeah, while he's trying to free his knight, he couldn't move the knight because of this pawn. But black can, yeah, he can play b5. Could be the next move, maybe. Maybe king f. Yeah, I'm wondering if we should just put the king on e7, just to protect his weakness. But then again, after knight e4, I'm not sure if black wants to take. But I think black has ideas like b5, b4 maybe, to get rid of the double pawn. So rook after c1 was the last move. Henrik 53 minutes here, or 42. And looks around equal. Might even prefer black here. This looks a bit like a Sicilian, but with some weird exchanges. So no problems for Henrik, it seems, but a lot to play still. A lot of play still left in this game. So now, well, oh, I forgot to, fix the title on last game, so let's not forget it this time. And this is the most important game of the round, really. It's Steingrímsson with white against Stefansson. Now, if Stefansson wins, then he's really pulling away from the field, and already having played against Steingrímsson and Hjörvar Grétarsson. If, however, Steingrímsson can win, then the tournament is already wide open, because, well, then Hjörvar, Hannes, and Héðinn already have lost the game. So maybe that would even benefit Danielson. But let's see what happened. Héðinn with the white pieces. Pawn to d4. Knight f6. Nothing surprising here. Héðinn is more or less always opening with d4, and Hannes has been playing the Nimzo Indian almost exclusively lately, so you can be pretty sure that Kieran was quite well prepared here, but okay, he goes for queen c2, the Capablanca line. b6, bishop to g5, bishop to b7, knight f3, pawn to d6. Yeah, so probably a sensible choice by Hannes. Yeah, the thing with the Nimzo, you don't have to go for super theoretical lines. You can just play solidly with d6 at knight bd7. And that seems to be his choice here, just to get a solid game. Knight d2 was played. This signals that white wants to play e4, but he also has to watch out for taking on e4 in some cases, not right now. Knight bd7. But yeah, there's always this knight e4 tactic. It's not working out because knight takes, so I'm wondering if e4, can we take it like this? Just wondering. Probably it's good for white because some pawns are dropping off here. Knight goes back. You can hit it. Hit it! Oh, yeah, this looks actually quite fine for black. So probably going to do that. There's always this tactic with, unpinning and hitting the queen. So knight b to d7, f3. So that was white's idea to prepare e4, c5, e4, h6, bishop to h4. Yeah, h6 puts the question on the bishop. In some extreme cases you're making luft, but that's not the immediate priority, but that's always something you want to do at some point in the game. So h6 makes luft. It also restricts the diagonal, because maybe at some point it could be useful to go back here. And one point as well is that you open up the possibility at some point to take on e4 or go knight d5, because now this guy is completely undefended on h4. So bishop h4 was played, and black went rook c8, lining his rook up against white's queen. Bishop to d3, c takes d4, queen takes d4. And now we're starting to resemble more of a hedgehog structure, but with black having lost his black squared bishop. Knight c5, bishop e2, pawn to e5. Okay. So trying to gain more traction on the black squares with e5, queen f2, knight e6. And here is one benefit of having kept the bishop here, because now it can't go to e3 to protect the square, so this becomes an outpost for the knight. Knight e6, queenside castles, g5, bishop g3, and knight to h5. Okay, looks like black wants to potentially eliminate the black squared bishop, king b1. Maybe he just wants to put a knight on f4. But eliminating the black squared bishop gives you more control over the d4 square. This game is becoming, yeah, strategically interesting and difficult to grasp the nuances of the position just looking at it. Knight takes g3, queen takes g3, and now king g7. Now there's no such thing as a free meal in life, and you should note that white also has access to a great square here for his knight to f5, and that actually could become more important because it's close to the king. So we could imagine a white knight landing on e3, black going knight d4, and just chopping it off and going knight to f5, taking on g5 and trying to open up lines. Could be some tactical possibilities later in the game. So, yeah, we're more or less caught up in all the games. So I'm thinking we should actually catch up in the last game a little bit, which is Thruster against Einar Hjalti. Ah. Okay, only 2 L's in Thorolfsson. So okay, that's the final game of this round. So Thruster opened d4. That doesn't happen a lot. It does not happen a lot. So looks like I think he's 90% playing e4, so he wanted to avoid any preparation by Einar, who is usually quite well prepared. c4, d takes c4, and e3. Yes, this is interesting because Black is playing one of Thruster's main weapons throughout the years, the Queen's Gambit accepted. So Thruster knows a thing or two about this line. Thruster. Let's see, 6, queen e2, ct, and rook d1, yeah. You also take, okay, it might look like you don't want to get an isolated opponent take with a knight, but on the other hand, that's rather drawish, so white usually takes here with a pawn, takes on the weakness, but he's hoping that his dynamic play against the black king will be more important. So black will actually try to exchange pieces and control the d5 square. Hope to get into an endgame later and attack with d4 pawn. But white will try to go for the king h6, bishop h4, rook d8. And now white decided to get rid of his weakness with pawn to d5. And actually, if you can get this move in under favorable circumstances, it should give you a somewhat better game for white. And here you can see that white is leading in development. Bishop on c8 still hasn't developed. Black hasn't connected his rook, so should be good for white. E takes d5, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, and knight takes d5. So some activity for white here, and the immediate threat is to take on f6 and damage the black pawn structure. And actually I don't see any good way for black to retreat with his bishop or prevent it, so probably playing. Yes, so probably white is claiming an edge here, since he can take on f6. It would be good for black if at least he had the bishop pairs compensation, but it looks like his structure will be damaged. Now we're going to log on to chess.com and look at the game by Kjartan Moch. No, just kidding. 3-minute game, 5-minute game? 5-minute game. What's your rating?
Terrible.
Over 2,000.
I dropped 200 points.
200? Are you drinking, Kjartan?
No.
Okay. Crazy. Okay, I'm just trying to find which gaming is currently interesting, if anyone. A quick look at the challenger games. Cyber actually has a good position against Lemka, it seems. Then we have the number 1 and number 2 seed playing on 1.2. Playing along Sveshnikov theory, it seems. We might actually have a look at those games as well, because they're important. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. Okay, so this is Sigurd Sigfússon, who is leading on the clock with 30 minutes against Fidemaster David Kjartansson. Both Fidemasters. We have the Sveshnikov Sicilian. Le Sveshnikov after Evgeny Sveshnikov. Safe fusion. Oh, my computer is slow. My computer is slow. Safe fusion.
Fusion?
That's a cool name. So, Sveshnikov Sicilian, knight f6, knight c3, protecting the pawn, e5, giving away some squares on d6 and d5. But this is all well known. d6, bishop g5, a6, bishop takes on f6, g takes f6, knight a3, b5, knight d5, pawn to f5, and of course Sigurd goes for the most aggressive option, taking on b5. Now I'm trying to refresh my memory here. Yeah, this is also of course an option. I once played the game, I think I went to c3. I'm trying to remember here. Yeah. This is actually a tricky move, because now if you take on e4, then taking on b5 becomes much stronger, and you even take with a bishop in that case. Pawn takes, knight takes. The key idea is that this diagonal has been opened. So if we play some more move like this, like black's chances in the resulting checkmate. That's quite tricky, but Sigurdardade fusion took immediately with a knight. Pawn takes, bishop takes on b5, bishop d7. So yeah, Sigurdardade is a really aggressive player, so this does not surprise me. Rook b8, a4, jump to g5, white castled, and now rook g8 with a mate threat on g2, which Sigurdardade answered with pawn to g3. So currently white has, well, after black takes on f5, white has 2 pawns for the piece, but well, to his benefit, strong knight on d5, safer king, and potential dangerous pawns on the queen side. So an interesting game. We'll keep an eye out for this one. Maybe a quick look at Sævar against Lenka. We'll just catch up. Sævar white, Lenka with black. Lenka is currently leading in the women's championship. Queen takes d5, which is yeah, the women just play in the candidates challenger section, and the highest placed woman will become Icelandic champion. Knight f6, bishop to c4, pawn to g6. Yeah, so she's playing this queen d6 Scandinavian, and Fian sharing the bishop. She has her own solid systems, which she usually knows quite well. a6. Usually this has the idea of playing b5, bishop b7, but Sævar does not allow that. Plays a4, and now knight c6. d3, rook d8, and bishop a3. So white has more or less finished development, and his development looks a little bit more natural, but yeah, we'll have to see what happens. The queen is not perhaps ideally placed on f5, and black still has to solve the problem of the bishop on c8. So some problems for black to solve, and we'll see if she can do it. She has so far proved quite resilient, and was, to be honest, close to completely lost against Oliver Aron, but defended tenaciously. Let's just put it, look at more games since we started it. Oh, okay, we still had Fusion against Aviono, but this was Sævar against Lenka. Vignir Vatnar against Davar Ragnarsson looks rather quiet right now. Okay, let's go back to the Masters games, because we're all here for the Masters. The Masters of Disasters. $18. Yeah, let's go back. Let's go back. I think it's time to catch up on some boards in the Masters. See if we have some moves. Let's just start board 1, Helgi against Helgi Gjerdarsson against Gumi Kjartans. Which we left after f3. Kjartansson, Gumi Kjartansson. So we left after f3, and true to form, Gumi went for the aggressive g5. So he wants to attack on the king side, that's clear. Knight f2 was played, and now f4. So this is an aggressive move. Black is grabbing all the space he can on the king side, but he also has to be careful that white could post a knight here on e4. On the other hand, bishop f5 immediately challenges this knight. So before doing that, white tried here to exchange the light square bishops. Black accepted and played knight b7, and now knight f2. And now you see the difference. Without the light square bishops, a knight on e4 would be much better placed. On the other hand, knight to b to d7 is actually designed to well, immediately meet this knight, meet it in the middle, if you will. So if say like queen e8, the idea being to swing the queen over to the king side, and white goes knight e4. Yeah, we'll start with like queen g6 maybe, and then take and go knight f6, something like that. Also, we have some ideas of further advancing our pawns at some point. Yeah. So white will try to control this e4 square, but the position is rather closed. So we won't have any big developments like right away here. It's actually, yeah, quite close to, well, let's say dynamically equal. That's always a popular assessment. But after bishop f7, he went king to b1. Remember, in this game we wanted to post the knight on e4, but the pawn was hanging, so king b1. Usually, yeah, usually quite useful. And the thing is, yeah, some people have said that long castling is called long because you have to play king b1 or king b8 to finish it, so it takes longer. And usually it's a useful move. So king b1 was played here. e4, also a thematic move. Quite often when white sacrifices a pawn on e5 to taunt the bishop, in many lines, famous game by Gligoric, for instance. Another famous example is Penrose against Tal in the Benoni. And often the counter for this, I mean, if white plays a knight on e4, the knight is going to stand quite well, the bishop will be bad. So quite often the antidote is to sacrifice the pawn back with e4. And this has the effect of freeing up the bishop. Knight takes e4. Something going on there. Okay, and b5. Okay, black is trying to open up lines, but it seems like white should be able to safely take on c5. But on the other hand, black will always have dangerous play. One might be worried about moves like queen f6, threatening mate, and then opening up lines, b takes c4, etc. So this is the current position. I'm actually hearing that we might have some developments in Hjalti against Thurston against Einar Hjalti. So after 16, knight takes d5. We'll see. This is what Thorharson. So we last left after 16, knight takes d5. Black went bishop g4. Queen e4. Attacking the bishop on g4. And what's the idea here? Yeah, black just takes on. Ah, yeah, of course. Bishop takes f3, maybe knight takes f6 was the idea. Okay, king to the corner just made. King to f8 makes no sense, and pawn takes, and queen g6 check. Let's go to the corner, but then we pick up a lot of pawns. Let's go to the corner, and probably we can get away with bishop takes f7, threatening queen h6 mate. Is there any way to? Well, we can play queen g5 there. But still, white will be up a lot of pawns when we take an f3. We can also start with actually queen takes f6 maybe. And okay, okay, worst case scenario, we can just grab a lot of pawns or 3 pawns, but it should be something better here, I feel. But if you're calculating, you don't really need to calculate further. You see that you can take off the up 3 pawns, so you don't really have to find anything else. So that was the idea. If bishop takes f3, so therefore Einar took on b2. Instead, bishop takes b2, which might have actually been by far the best move.
Yes.
Let's see, if bishop h5, knight takes rook d5. Could be very annoying. Bishop takes b2, rook a to b1. Now bishop takes f3, and now there's no knight f6 anymore, so I can take on f3, and Thursday took with the pawn. Yeah, so at the moment white has sacrificed the pawn, but you can always get it back on b7 next move. And here, yeah, the computer says rook e8, bishop b5 perhaps. Looks like the most natural move. And then we take on b7, and white should be doing better here. Of course, black can't take on a4 because we have. Yeah, I'm wondering what's best. Maybe knight f6 even. And we take on f7. The queen hangs, and we're also protecting the rook here with the queen. So that pawn is poisoned. 38 minutes for Thruster, 30 for Einar. Yeah, looks more dangerous for black. He has to be a bit careful here. White has some active pieces, good bishop, c4, active queen. So could be some tricks here that Einar has to avoid, so most likely he will spend some time here. Let's go to Kjörvar's game. Really important game for Hjörvar, but currently not looking like much for him. So we thought black would play b5, which he did play. So white started to improve his king. Now king f8. And white at b4. Okay. This pawn on a3 is weak, but we can always play bishop b3 to protect it. So here white thinks that it's more important to take away the c5 go for the knight, make the knight bad. And also you keep these double pawns here on the b file. b4, knight c7. Bishop b3 protecting the pawn which was attacked, but now black gets ready to double to attack him. Rook d1. Knight a8. Interesting maneuver. So the idea of rook a7 was not only to be ready to double, also to get the a8 square for the knight to put it on b6, which stands much better. eyeing this c4 square, d5 pawn as well. So I'm starting to like black here, and this seems like a position that might suit Henrik quite well. B takes a4 and knight takes a4. Okay, at least right now we're preventing black from going knight b6. If takes on a4, it's good that we have the rook on d1 because I'm protecting the d5 pawn. Yeah, here the computer likes taking with this idea and this one. Eyeing this, attacking this. Okay, looks cozy for black, but probably white can defend. I mean, even if you get the knight c4, we can just take it, play c3, put the king on e3. Make sure to challenge the a file if needed. Yeah, probably we're heading towards a draw. I would say black is better here, but most likely a draw. But probably only black can win if they go for this. But Henrik is still thinking after knight takes a4. Here then Gelden. Here then against Hannes. This very important game. So we have actually in this game Stengrimsson, very Icelandic name, Stengrimsson against Stensson. Which we left after king g7. Let's see what developments we have. King g7, knight f1. Yeah, like we talked about, he wants to reroute this knight. Knight d4. Black is attacking his bishop, so white defends it with the queen. Also avoiding any queen trades with queen f4. Rook g8, knight e3, king f8. Yeah, more or less avoiding any rook takes d4, knight f5 check type of ideas. Yeah, so now the question is, who's better? White square bishop for both are really struggling at the moment. White's because it's hemmed in by its own pawns. Black's because, well, it's staring at this granite wall here up the diagonal. But maybe black can play at some point bishop a6 to pressurize c4, but then also hit e5 square. Note that white never wants to go knight d5 with the bishop on b7 because black just takes. Then this knight becomes quite strong. So that's not what we want. King f8, front move, knight e3, king f8. So white looks more comfortable. I mean, his king is setting pretty here, nothing threatening him at the moment. But how to go forward here? That's the question. How to go forward? Yeah, Black's king is a little bit worse off, and Black always has to be careful about if he tries to move the king like king e7. Is there something like rook takes d4 in some lines, knight f5 jack? White has kind of all the dynamic trumps. You know, he can open the h file when he wants. He can take on d4 if and when he wants. Black doesn't have any immediate or dangerous pawn breaks, it seems. White can also, you know, knight g4 if and when he wants, attack the queen. So definitely looks better for White, but can he make something of it? That remains to be seen. But if he can, that's big news for the tournament. Yeah, somebody's saying trade knights with knight c2. I don't like that. It means Black is left with a better bishop, relieves all the pressure. No, this is too important of a piece. Knight c2. Black just starts attacking now. Bishop a6. Maybe even rerouting, doubling the rooks here. I think then Black will start being better. I don't think that's an option. Any developments? Developments. So maybe a quick look at, well, not this one. Yeah, let's quickly go back to the start of our cycle here. That's Helgi Ásgrétarsson against Guðmundur Kjartansson. So important game for Kjartansson with Black. If he can manage to win somehow, then he's right back into contention. He played queen e8 like I predicted, and queen d3. So actually, not many moves he played. Yeah, queen d3 right away prevents queen d6, which looked like a nice square for the black queen. Yeah, so actually not much going on in this one. We actually hadn't looked at Bragi's game. Bragi against Gumi Gísla. Yeah, this one. Says 1. e5 was the last move. b5 again. From here we have some moves. Knight takes c5 looked fine, but Bragi went for f6. Trying to close the diagonal of the bishop. Pawn takes f6. Now knight takes c5. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna last look at this. We thought that if knight takes c5, queen f6 might be an idea. So we see some pawn sacrifices to close lines here, close lines and open lines. So what closes the f6 square, so now you can take on c5 and win some time because the queen can't go to the active f6 square, threatening mate. So queen d6, queen f3. This attacks the rook, but also white gets ready to put a rook on d1 with tempo. So black has to move a rook, and now rook d1, activating the rook. Again with tempo, queen here, and c takes b5. So white is up a pawn. Knight e6, which looks like potentially a blunder. Why is that? Can we... Aha! Ooh, rook d7, queen e8, rook takes. And yeah, whichever way we take, there's bishop c4. Deadly pin here, so black is forced to do something like this. And here we could even... Wow, could we even... No, that's not necessary. Let's start with this. I was thinking if queen a8 was an option here. No, that's not necessary. Just play bishop takes c5. The pin remains, queen a8 is a threat. And actually... I mean, yeah, there's nothing to be done. So, king takes... This could be game over, actually. Our first decisive result. This could be our first decisive result. If king takes, there's also bishop here. This looks like the only move. I'm gonna go here. Maybe there's nothing better than something like this. Yeah, and queen d6 more or less forces takes, and black can't really get out of this pin. This is like a horrible pin. The king can't move. Bishop f8 immediately loses. Take here and take the bishop on f8. f5. There's even g5 if we want to be sadistic. Just take away every move that black can make. But of course c7 is the most accurate move, and then queening on the next move. So rook d7 right now looks like it might just win for white. He has played it, rook d7, queen e8, and rook takes f7, wins on the spot. So it looks like, yeah, Dry's fortunes are turning around. And yeah, it's all about your mental state when you lose a game. Okay, now he wins a game, and the net result of winning and losing is the same as drawing 2 games. So it just depends on how you look at it. Maybe you feel better about drawing 2 games. So just imagine that you did, because it has the same effect really. Looks like we might have quick win here. He has taken on f7. And this looks like a game over.
Right.
Yes. And then simply a pin on a diagonal with bishop c4. And this should end resistance. And yeah, quite tricky because c takes b5. This was the first option that the first time that bishop actually has had access to the c4 square. So 96. Maybe he thought about it before he took, and then it's not easy to see this dangerous diagonal. Yeah, this is completely over. I mean, he might even resign right now. I'll think a little bit, and we won't see a move here for a while. That's my prediction. So therefore, let's see some other developments. Okay. 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 Let's go back to the main event of the evening. It's this one. So we actually have some moves in this important, very important game. Bishop d3. Okay. So at this point, it's all about making small moves that you think are improving your position. And here, white does not want this bishop to be hanging on e2 if he wants to move the queen. So bishop d3. And now black started an interesting plan. King e7, rook d2, and king d7. So it looks like we have full king evacuation over to the queen side. I want to be very comfortable here, so we must be heading for b8.
Oh, it's more. More.
Yeah, so we had a question, knight takes c5 in the last game. It's a good question, but most likely we okay, we haven't sacrificed anything, and we can probably just play bishop c4 still. Yeah, maybe that's the best way to try to survive. Okay, we have to go king h8. Seems to me. Unless we go 96 back. Knight takes c5. Yeah, it might be the best defense. But yeah, okay, yeah, bishop c4 is not necessary. We can also just take a pawn. We're gonna be off 2 pawns with the bishop here. I'm wondering if there's anything stronger here. I have a feeling there should be something. Yeah, probably did rook takes a7. I don't actually see anything. Rook takes a7 looks like the best move. Yeah, okay. He played knight takes c5. It looks like the best chance. And yeah, rook takes a7. It's the best move. No, there's this nagging feeling that there should be something, but like bishop c4, which I tried. I mean, knight e6 just closes the diagonal, attacks the rook, attacks the bishop. So this is the best move, I think. But yeah, this looks tempting. But here now we're attacking this, and this, and it's a good way to increase the pressure, really. So rook takes 7, a7, simple move. Which he played. Okay, well done, Bray, well done. So up 2 pawns, and this b pawn is immediately almost decisive. It's just 3 moves away from queening. It's well protected. Our immediate threat is bishop takes c5, followed by rook a8. It's changing everything. And we don't have to worry about opposite colored bishops with this cluster of queenside pawns that we have. So yeah, still looks completely winning, but yeah, knight takes c5 was the best defense, it seems. Okay, Einar Thurstur, not much happening in favor of Henrik. Yeah, black seems to keep a slight edge there. Let's see what happened actually. So we left it here after 23, knight takes a4. Henrik indeed took on a4 with a bishop, rook takes, bishop takes. And here instead of b5 he played knight c7. King f2, rook a8, bishop. What? Yeah, I missed some moves. Knight c7. Sorry, my apologies. Bishop b3 right here. Knight a6, c3, protecting the b4 pawn. Knight back to c7, and now king f2. This is why I looked at king f2. Rook a8, rook e2, rook a3, bishop a2. Everything seems to be defended for now. King e7, h3, knight d7. So we might be thinking about posting this knight on a4 or something. And the other one on b5 maybe. With pressure on c3. And yeah, the problem with a move such as this one might look tempting, but on the other hand, knight a6 immediately attacks this pawn. If we defend it, I was thinking we might take, but then b7 actually hangs. So maybe something like this. Now we're trying to take. And anytime we go b5, there's knight c5. And this can't be good for white. And the knights start to dance around. The king can also think about penetrating these squares at the later stage. And the idea with king f6 is if white plays some kind of waiting move. Let's say just this for argument's sake. Take. Now we take here. Take on b7, knight c5. Looks quite nice for black. Rook c2 might be the next move. Taking this. Although there's still counterplay here. So, okay. Yeah, it looks good for black, but perhaps white has some chances to hold here. 32, king e1 was played. Yeah, yeah. This position is too much of Danielson's alley. I think you can maneuver the knights, back and forth until we fall asleep here, and looks difficult for Hjörvar. But hopefully he can hang on, and you never know, if black tries too hard, then things could go south. So I'm actually gonna take a quick break right now, just have a walk in the playing hall, see what's going on, so we'll be ready for the time trouble stage, which is coming up in about 20-30 minutes, but we'll be back in about, maximum 10 minutes.
Break. We're on a break.
So we're back, and we have the first decisive result of the day. After knight into e4. White played bishop d3. After which black re-signed. Why did he do that? Well, he's down 2 pawns. White has the bishop pair. The b pawn is, well, very close to simply promoting. So I mean, if knight d6, then queen d5 maybe. Maybe. But on the other hand, we don't really need to do anything. We can just be solid here. Bishops are quite strong. We just play b6. Knight d5. Yeah, probably the best way here is just to go here and then queen d7. And the queen has to either be passive or take on d7. If you take on d7, the b pawn immediately decides. But at bishop d3, Guðmundur signed, so this was Guðmundur Gíslason with black against Bragi Þorfinnsson, so Bragi bounces back. After a tough loss against Henrik the round before. I had a quick chance to talk to them, so for those interested in opening a theory, Tyrone Þorfinnsson. So this is 1-0. And hello, flying Goldshire footman. Yeah, for those interested in opening theory, White played, well, bishop e2. Here bishop e3 is not the most common. Knight f3 is the most common. Actually, knight f3 before bishop e2. But usually when you play bishop e2, you play bishop g5, which is the so-called Averbach variation. Averbakh variation. Averbach was a Russian grandmaster. An interesting variation in many ways, but in this game bishop e3 and c5, which looks logical because if it takes, and there's always the standard idea of queen a5 when we have pressure on e4 immediately. Here White went with the aggressive e5, takes, and then f4. And yeah, Bragi told me he got this idea from Ginger GM on his webpage, gingergm.com. So I recommend everything that Ginger GM does. My great friend Simon. But yeah, I was talking to Bragi, and he told me that this opening idea e5 is shown in a video by Ginger GM on gingergm.com. So he played it in the British League, the 4 NCL, against a player rated 2250, and of course won in dazzling fashion, as he usually does. Haven't seen the game, but I would guess he sacrificed at least 2 pawns, maybe a piece, as he usually does, but okay, that's another story. Check out gingergm.com. So,
Seems that Einar Hjalti is in trouble.
So Einar Hjalti was black against Þröstur, and he was Yeah, really walking the line in that game, trying to find some, well, close to only moves, some possessions to stay in the game. Let's update the title here. Thorhalsson and Jensen. Jensen with the black pieces. So here, for instance, he played rook e8, which was, yeah, almost the only move. Queen f5. And here he had to find b5 probably when he played knight e5. Rook takes b2, knight takes c4. Rook takes b7, and knight e5. Aha. Here the computer is very cold-blooded and he wants to play king g2 or king h1. And the idea of this move is to play f4 without allowing knight f3 check. So if we could play f4 here and the knight had to move somewhere, then of course queen takes f7 ends the game, goes checkmate. So the idea of king g2 or king h1 is to play f4 without allowing knight check. So this threat becomes quite annoying for black. And hard to get rid of this threat here also, because, well, f6 just might lose immediately here. Another mate. Rook f8, and probably play f4 as well. Yeah, the question is only if there's more. Yeah, this variation actually makes a case for king h1 to open up the g1 square for the rook. So if rook f8, we could play f4. Now you have to put the knight on c6 or c4, as otherwise we have knight check and then pick up the queen, so that's why you have to protect the queen. But now we can play knight f6, and that's why I wanted the rook, the h1 square, the g1 square available. Now if you don't take the sacrifice, you get mated, but also if you take it, you get mated either way, so only bad choices for black here. So looking quite critical, and king h1 or or king g2 look like rather nasty moves. Oh, hello. Well, to top things off, Einar has 3 minutes remaining against 19. Yeah, when I was walking in the room, Einar looks somewhat worried, understandably, but also focused. But looks like he won't be able to save this position. Well, okay, still, white has to find king h1 or king g2. So let's go back to some of the more critical games. Let's actually go back to board one. There's not much going on in the battle of the top seeds actually, so looking rather quiet. Well, not quiet, but you know, the developments are quite slow. GM Gretarsson, Kjartansson. So this one we left after 18, queen g3. So we have a lot of moves here. Similar to what the Gitterson did, we had a line opening, pawn sacrifice with e4. So black does not want to allow white to get this e4 square and bury this bishop. So e4, knight c takes e4, knight takes and knight takes. Rook a2, activating the rook, g takes, rook f2, no knight jumped into e5, queen to b3, black exchanged the queens here, takes, c5, knight to c4, now we have a threat of bishop d4, so that explains rook g2. Oh, excuse me. King h7, h4, and rook a2, which is how things currently stand. White is still up this pawn that black sacrificed, and black doesn't have any immediate way to very drastic, but white has yeah, he has some problems untangling his pieces. This bishop, for instance, can't really move, can't go to a3, can't go to b2, can't go to e3, can't take on f4, and yeah, d2 just takes. So that's black's compensation for now. White can't so easily move his pieces. Both sides have 12 minutes left for 13 moves plus the increment. So interesting position. Black definitely has compensation because of this, because white can't move anything, but on the other hand, maybe difficult for black to create any threats. Well, one idea is try and protect the e5 pawn, play bishop e5, then double the rooks. So let's see something like this, bishop e5 and then double the rooks. But of course, yeah, it looks like a fine idea. And once the rook lands on a1, it could be somewhat tricky for white. So yeah, interesting position where black has compensation for a pawn here in an endgame. King h2, Helgi played. And yeah, maybe it's difficult to make any progress. And now looking at the computer evaluation, it says 0.00 for almost any move, which indicates that there's no progress to be made. So let's assume that it's going to be difficult to do anything, but let's not eliminate any possibilities. Goodman likes to fight and play out Troy's endgames. Here for Henrik. Henrik is still trying to make something happen in this endgame. Let's have a look at that. So if Henrik can bring home his advantage here, then most likely he'll catch up to Stefansson. Well, I don't think he's very likely to win, but you never know. 32, king e1, Henrik plays b5, king d1. White wants to bring the king over to the king side for protection. Protection from what? Set Germans. Knight b6, king c1. So we have a movie quiz. From which movie is this? What's that? That's a gun. For what? For protection. Protection from what? Set Germans. So, which movie is that from? The correct answer gets I'll figure that. Get something of no value whatsoever. .34, king c1, knight c4, bishop takes, pawn takes. Okay, king b2. At least we're stopping immediate penetration on the king side. Queen side, rook d1, g6, f4. Somebody running terribly?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's bad when both players write horribly on a score sheet.
Especially when both players went on d4, but there's no pawn on d5.
Oh,
That's a problem.
e5?
I know.
You'll figure it out
Yeah, I know.
eventually. So f4 and what's going f4? I want to see. What if black just takes it? If it's necessary. Don't understand this move. Does he want to go for does he want to go for counterplay or? I'll just take it, which he hasn't done yet. I can't take back the knight, can I? Because rook takes. Yeah, note that knight takes loses. Because I'm not going to take here. When you take here, I'm going to check. And then take your took your rook. So rook takes e3. I don't see compensation for white here. So I can't see the idea with this move. Maybe he wants to just take with a rook then. But then g5. Let's see. Maybe this wants to reduce the pawns. g5. Yeah, maybe an f6. But okay, at least in this case, we can open the 8 file and we have counterplay. So let's say h6. Maybe this is the idea, just to get an active rook, try and get counterplay. Rook h1. But a pawn is a pawn, and probably black can bring his king to defend the pawns, and also at some stage move them forward. But sometimes in chess we have this interesting thing where the players just trust each other. Somebody sacrifices a pawn and the other one is like, oh, okay, so yeah, he must be right, so I'm not going to take it. So he plays e4. Yeah, white's main problem right now is that, okay, if you want to simplify, so let's say rook a1, you take it, Don't see how we defend this pawn. King takes a1. Let's c7. Maybe even f5 first. Yeah, probably f5 first because we can't move the knight. Have to protect this pawn first, and now knight c7. We pick up this pawn. And yeah, now white must hope that he can somehow hang on. But my feeling is he can't. So we can't play rook a1 to simplify. But maybe we can just stay, do nothing. So black has this pressure on c3, but this is only one weakness and we can easily defend it. And black needs something else to be able to win this game. So at the moment should be okay. The thing is, once black starts to do something else, maybe take the rook back by knight c7. As soon as you do that, you free up the d4 square and I can attack your pawn. So maybe not so easy to make progress for black. So having said that, let's move on to Steingrimsson and Stefansson. Having said that, the main event, the heavyweight bout, Steingrimsson, Stefansson. Yeah, we should mention that of all the top 5 seeds, their first name, all of the first names start with the letter H. Don't know what the odds of that are. King d7 is where we left Stefansson last time. And since then we have pawn takes d5, pawn takes, knight f5. So he wants to exchange these knights, but in doing so he wants to get this e4 square eventually and hope that, yeah, he can control these squares with the queen. And then, yeah, attack d5. d6 pawn, you know, control the d5 point. But Hannes didn't want to defend passively, so he played g4. Here then went rook to f1. G takes f3, G takes f3. King c7, the king is running for shelter. Queen e2. Rook c to d8. The king can probably stay there, it should be a fine square for the king for now. So now finally this bishop e4 idea. White takes it, and now it takes with a pawn. Aha. Queen h4. Queen d3. Black to move. Rook g4 suggests itself, and white has to play rook e2. And then white has ideas like rook here, queen here, which attacks this guy.